Welcome to Ash Chess Arts. So today I'm gonna talk about all things collecting, physical media, and streaming. So basically different formats on how to watch films. And as you people know, if you watch my channel, I am a collector, but I also stream lots of films and I watch films by any means necessary. And to me, that's the way to go. Clearly, if you are interested in films first, and the formats second. But I would argue that many people seem to care more about the formats than the films themselves. But yeah, so often when I open YouTube, like many of my video recommendations are videos about like 10 reasons why you should start a physical media collection, 10 reasons why streaming sucks, then like the big kind of line, physical media is dying, and again, videos like that. And I've watched some of them. And oftentimes, even though I agree with certain points that I see on those videos, there are often also many points that I disagree on those videos. And we'll see what I end up doing on this video as I didn't plan this that much, but I'm gonna talk about all of those themes here in this video in my typical off the cuff way. I don't usually plan my videos that much, so this might be a bit all over the place in terms of the structure. But I've been meaning to do a video like this for a few weeks, so I've been thinking about these things, but yeah, we'll see how this goes. I just woke up. It's like 7:50 a.m., so we'll see how it goes. But anyway, so I've kind of put these random tabs open here on Google. So I didn't actually read this article from Business Insider called "The Streaming Apocalypse is Nigh." Some are preparing for, some are preparing their storm shelters now. But I thought that this would be a good kind of background to have with this topic because it's all about streaming and why some people still collect. So maybe I'll start with talking about why I collect films. And my reasons for collecting are very different from many of the reasons that you see in these other videos. Because I collect, because I started collecting as a kid, I got used to it. I've always liked it. So that's the reason why I collect. I don't do these top tens of like overly and intellectualized reasons why I collect. I just collect because I'm used to it and I like it. Okay, many people feel like they have to kind of really intellectualize their hobby and give you these reasons why they collect, even though I think oftentimes it's just something that you've gotten used to, especially for people who are even older than me, when that was all that you knew when you were younger. So you kind of want to continue that even when you're older, even though it might not make that much sense. And many of the intellectualized reasons are actually oftentimes false. So one of the reasons that many people say that, again, for example, for these boutique label films, that you cannot get these on streaming. Yeah, you might not be able to get them on Netflix or HBO Max, but I can guarantee you that you can find those films online. Like I had have this one website here as an example. I've mentioned this website many times on my channel, but it's the Rare Film, the Cave of Forgotten Films. And there are plenty of websites like this, for example, where you can find the rarest of rare films. Many of these aren't even available on physical media. So if you are into world cinema, if you are into rare films, websites like these are gold mines. And if you are physical media only, you will be missing out on many of these films because many of these films will never get physical media releases. And I think if you truly love film and if you truly love these types of films, you should definitely go past the physical media because you are just missing out. And I feel like if you are just saying that, yeah, I would like to see that film, but it's not on my preferred format, so I'm not gonna watch that. So do you actually then care about films or do you care about the formats more when you just prioritize that one type of format so much that you ignore all the other formats and you are willing to watch films that you even want to see through other formats. So I kind of have a problem with that as someone who absolutely loves cinema, who loves films, and who loves many other art forms. And I think to me it's like so weird that like being so obsessed about a certain format that you will even miss out on many films just because of your obsession of a format. Yeah, hopefully you get what I mean. But anyway, there are many websites like this, and of course there are many streaming services like Criterion Channel, Mubi that also have kind of more rare films. Yeah, and then of course many people say that also that because certain like these big corporations like Disney, etc., might kind of censor some bits from like older films. Like there was that scene in The French Connection that was censored or taken out of the film for like some streaming services. So that's why you should get like an older physical media release of that film because the original version won't be available on streaming. But you can definitely find those original versions online too. Again, you might not find it on Netflix or some of these quote unquote official streaming services, but you can definitely find like any version of a famous film like The French Connection online if you want to look. So when it comes to the online film watching market, you could say a lot of it is just whether you are willing to go past the Netflix and HBO Max and whether you have like decent research skills and ability to find films because you can really find absolutely anything online if you want to and if you are willing to do so. But I know some people maybe don't know that or maybe they aren't willing to do that. They just go through these official ways. And I can understand that, but as I'm such a okay, lover of cinema, I love rare films, I love world cinema. I kind of watch films through, I'll just say any means necessary because I want to see these films and I don't want to miss out on great cinema just because they aren't on Netflix or on the boutique Blu-ray market or whatever. Yeah. But of course, some of the reasons why people prefer physical media to streaming might be true. Again, I'm not an expert on kind of the more technical details about like picture quality and things like that, but I know from obviously experience of like watching a great Blu-ray and stuff that it often looks better on disc than the same resolution on streaming. But I think the differences are very small, and I don't think it's enough of a reason for at least for me to get physical media just because of the picture quality, because I've seen so many great prints online too. It really depends. And then there's the question of special features. Many people say that, yeah, I buy physical media because they have special features. But if you search on YouTube, for example, yeah, you put like, let's say, Bresson's Diary of a Country Priest and like interviews or commentary or whatever, you can usually find those on YouTube or other ways through online. And obviously, Criterion Channel also has special features there. So I think that's like a pretty bad reason because you can find that stuff online too. And of course, you can find find like essays and writing on those films. So the booklets aren't really a reason either because you can find as good of a writings online that you can find on those booklets. Yeah. And I also get that it's of course collecting is nice because you have them on the shelf and stuff, and I really like that too, and that's probably one of the reasons I still collect because it's just nice to have them organized on your shelf and it's a nice aesthetic. But I think that's not necessarily a the most sensible reason to collect. But like I said, at least to me, collecting is more of a kind of obsession and something I'm used to, even though it doesn't make any sense for me, especially as I have like a very small budget, and I would be better off if I didn't collect anything. But I just can't help it because it's fun to me. Yeah, and I think, of course, one good reason to collect when we talk about the boutique labels, for example, like the Criterion collection, is that if we didn't buy these discs, many of them would never get like new restorations and stuff. So you would always have to watch them on 360p online if these boutique labels didn't do the work. And I think that's one of the best reasons to support these labels because they do the restoration work and they help to um, also give kind of more attention to films that were like really rare before, and yeah, they'll just give us the like a better quality copies of them and stuff like that. So I think that's like one good reason to collect that. It will help us preserve film history, and that's something I'm all in for. That's why I also most of my collecting is boutique labels these days. I mean, one of the other reasons why it's boutique labels these days also is that again the type of films that I like for example the Kichu Yoshida films or Jacques Demy films, like they are released through boutique labels, but maybe they don't have like other types of releases. At least many of those films don't. So the kind of only reason to get only way to get them on physical media is through a boutique label. But I'm not that obsessive about these boutique labels that I feel like I would have to get like all the spine numbers. I mean, with my budget, I wouldn't even be able to get all of them, even if I wanted. But I think even if I had all the money in the world, I probably still wouldn't get all the spine numbers. Definitely not for the most of the boutique labels. There are many boutique labels that I'm not that interested in, like Indicator or 88 Films, for example. But I'm more interested in, for example, Criterion, Radiance. I think do lots of great work, although I only have a couple of their releases. Then like Third Window, Second Run, I really like. And there are others that I really like, but I don't think there's a single label that I would get all the spines. The Second Run is maybe the closest because pretty much most of their releases like really interest me. I think Radiance maybe I would get all of them or at least most of them if I had the money, but I'm not sure. And at least for me, I really don't like my home to look like this because actually, like if we count out my like book and film and collecting habits, I actually, other than that, I like kind of minimalism, so I don't like kind of getting trash or kind of like random items on my home to take space. I like to have lots of space on my home and stuff. So if we count out these hobbies that I put on the shelf, like I really don't like having much stuff. But of course, this kind of hoarding thing is like very common. Like I know from experience, like I've met many, like especially like middle-aged and elderly men in my life that have like had this type of hoarding thing that they have so much stuff that they can barely walk at their homes. Like, and my mother recently told me about this guy in my hometown that had like 10 washing machines next to each other and 3 dryers. Even in the children's room, there was a dryer. Like, imagine being so obsessed about stuff that you put a fucking drying machine in your like children's room. Like that's fucking insane. But yeah, there are many people who just buy stuff because they cannot live without stuff and they're absolutely obsessed about it. And I think this applies to some of the film collectors as well who just get absolutely everything, no matter whether they're actually interested in the films or not. And then there's of course the question of blind buying as well. And there's always this debate that yeah, some people say that yeah, I would have never learned about this film if I didn't blind buy it, but of course you could have watched it online too and then see whether you like it or not and then bought it afterwards. But I think there's nothing wrong about blind buying either, and I have done it myself too. But I think people shouldn't say that that's the only way to discover films because you can always watch those online too, and it would be way cheaper for people if you actually watched it online first and see whether it's like a 5-star film to you that you want to pick up or not. Yeah, but I have nothing against blind buying. Like I said, I've done it And I think it's probably much of the income for these boutique labels is that people blind buy those titles that they haven't seen. So yeah. And if people didn't blind buy, I think these boutique labels would probably only release these kind of famous titles that people had already seen, because if they didn't blind buy like the very very rare films which wouldn't see sales at all. So yeah. So yeah, the blind buying, I think if you like it, do it. If you don't like it, don't do it. I'm very careful about it myself. Although I can say that if I again had a bigger budget, I probably would be less careful with it. But I definitely tend to kind of prefer to get stuff that I already like, especially because there are so many of my favorites that I don't own yet. Yeah. And of course, there are also, I think I probably mentioned this already, but there are many films that you cannot find on physical media, but you can watch on like random website and stuff. So this is, for example, one film that I don't think is available in any physical media format, but it's D4 Reality by Antoinetta Angelidi. I think absolutely amazing film, and if I was physical media only, I would have never discovered film like this. And there are many of these films that if I was physical media only, I would have missed out on, because there are actually so many of these kind of rare art house films, rare experimental films that are actually like as good as the more famous classics, but people just don't know about them, and they just aren't like widely available. But if you actually are willing to look for these and watch them, you will find many gems out there. And I'm really glad that I started doing that like few years ago, because I've discovered so many great films from that. For example, from countries like India and Japan. Like if you're interested in Indian cinema, I think it's almost like a must to watch films outside of physical media, because the physical media release history for many of the more artsy Indian films is like absolutely dire, like the Money Cowl films or Govindan Aravindan films. They don't really get releases, or they really haven't got their releases. So if you're interested in those great films, you pretty much have to watch them on they are often on YouTube, and then again websites like this have many of these types of films. And I think, for example, Third Window is now releasing some of the Shinji Somai films, but they have been available here. At least some of them have been available here. For example, I think even before. So if you want to watch them before getting them, you can watch them here. Yeah, yeah, you can see that there are several Shinji Somai films like this one. I, for example, watched Lost Chapter of Snow Passion. Yeah, Typhoon Club obviously got released very recently, but you can see that it's been here since 2019. So yeah, so I think it's worth it to look at these types of websites and see whether things are available if you don't want to blind buy things and maybe use money for stuff that you end up not liking. Yeah, but yeah, I think if we wrap this up, of course, in the end, you should do whatever you want. This isn't supposed to be like a attack on people who only watch films through physical media or through streaming or whatever. I just wanted to offer my perspective on this like very popular topic on YouTube at the moment and elsewhere too. In the end, you should do what makes you happy and what is the most comfortable for you. But I think if you truly love cinema, I think it's good to not limit yourself to one format, because you're gonna miss out on many films unless you have like a very mainstream taste. Or if you have a mainstream taste, you are lucky in a way that your films are always available through many different formats. But if you are like me, that you like these random world cinema films that maybe 200 people have logged on Letterboxd, then you should definitely try out websites like Rare Film and other websites like that, and not miss out on many masterpieces that might become your favorites. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, those were some of my thoughts on this topic. I probably forgot about some things, and I realized that this is probably like completely different from many other people's opinions. So, but that's often my role, I guess, that I feel like I'm often the black sheep, that I have these kind of contrarian opinions, not because I want to be a contrarian, but just because I happen to think differently than many other people. But anyway, do what makes you happy. Keep watching lots of great films. Keep supporting the film industry. But also in the end, it's the most important that you just experience lots of cinema that brings you happiness and brings you intellectual stimulation or whatever you want from cinema. But anyway, thanks for watching. Don't drink Coke at all. Sayonara and arigato gozaimashita.